story on her blog. She's stuck to her laptop all the time. What's up? Good stuff. Have you ever spoken on a panel before?
Yes, I did last night too, actually.
Really? Where?
At OCAD. Yeah.
Here?
Yeah. It was about it was about a lot of things, but yeah. Yeah. Thanks for organizing this, by the way.
Thank you for being so
Thank you,
thankful.
Gina.
Yeah. More thanks.
Yes.
You're good at that because you're so nice. Can everybody agree with me that Leah Samuels is so nice?
Oh, I can totally agree.
No. Nice.
You were that nice last night.
Oh, you were that nice last night. Why do you say that, girl?
Inside joke number 500.
Well, it's just that I appreciated what you had to say in response on the panel. That she did. It was hard-hitting and critical.
Okay, what was the thing she said that stuck with you? Tell Sally.
No, I haven't prepared for this. It was just, she said what she had to say, and then she said it was her personal opinion, which basically means
What did you say?
What did you say? Do you remember what it was?
I basically just said, yeah, artists, you might think this art piece works great, but it's okay, it's my right as a critic or any critical viewer to say it's not working for me and not be convinced otherwise by your talking about it.
As somebody who's been writing about art for longer than 5 years, do you find that your senses are kind of dulled and it is difficult to be impressed by art that you see in Toronto?
No, it's not so much that. It's more like I did start out as a writer when I started writing about art in Halifax. I was much more community oriented. It's a very kind of different situation there, where because it's so small, the critics do need to be kind of just like purely supportive of the scene.
And do you think that that's a good idea or a bad idea?
I think it's really contextual. Like I think the best thing is like to have some kind of balance going on, right? Because like this is not a problem in Canada, but some places I've heard is just too much negative criticism, right?
Who thinks that Canadian art critics should be more critical?
Yeah, a lot of people do. Yeah, that's
Okay.
kind of
That's the
direction.
problem that we can talk about.
Yeah, that's the problem of balance here.
Define critical.
I don't
Yeah. As a curator, do I want to make you cry?
I keep hearing this about Canadian arts critics needing to be more critical.
Yes.
Now, read Flash Art Freeze, it's the same drag. You get it. Except the artists make more money. And the critics make the same.
So is it essentially a battle?
Well, the other thing I think before you say, I agree there should perhaps be more criticism.
This is Earl Miller, everybody.
But I also have to ask who's qualified to be critical.
Well, do you need to have like some certification to be an
Well, not
artist?
a degree, but some ability, because if you're going to ruin someone's chance of getting a grant, if you're going to have an effect on someone, provided they actually...
Who's qualified to be an artist?
Well...
Cats out!
No, as an art writer, there is an ethic, I think, that if you're going to critique something, it has an effect, and you better well have a damn good argument. So at the same time, because I've heard on blogs lately, there's this thing about people should be more critical. And while I agree, I'd like to play the devil's advocate and say, what do you mean by more critical? As Nicholas said,
Beyond
is
journalistic merit.
Yeah.
It's more than descriptive analysis or like, poetic sort of like.
But I'm just saying it has to be good criticism. And we have to determine how we evaluate. There hasn't been, the idea of evaluative criticism went out with minimalism. I mean, so we have to say, what are we going to do now 40 years from now that's not aesthetic judgment? How are we going to judge? Rather than say we have to be nastier, I think we have to ask just how we're going to do it.
Earl.
Sorry.
Why
Come around from the HUI program.
people need to say that critical is negative? It can be
Totally agree with that.
There was indeed a blog post, and I think I know which one you're talking about.
Which blog post? Tell us.
It was Andrea saying that...
Andrea Carson, is she here tonight?
She's in Miami.
Oh, excuse me. How did she afford that?
Asking if Voca should be more critical, and
VOCA stands for viewoncanadianart.ca, which is a blog by Andrea Carson. And do you think that it needs to be more critical?
absolutely, and I'm still doing it.
Have you reached out to her and said, bitch, step up, bring it?
Not in so many ways.
Because you're the type of guy where you'll just be like, you'll see somebody walking in front, you'll be like, huh. What a style.
Yeah, but that's when I'm on the job.
Is that different from here?
But critical writing did not go up with minimalism. Read Art Monthly, read the Guardian reviews, read Philip. I mean, Philip has got some of the best writing these days.
Why can't we find it anywhere in Toronto then?
Subscribe. It's cheap. You can find it. Art magazines need a subscription.
Where? Because I've honestly never seen it.
On
This ain't? Okay, this ain't Rosedale Library by Philip. That's a Canadian art journal. Check out.
But
Why was that?
But it's not only that art critics have to be more critical, but the magazines themselves have to raise the bar. And the editors need to allow for longer pieces and more in-depth pieces, and sometimes using big words as long as the big words make sense in context.
But we're moving towards a time where everything is being shortened.
Absolutely. And that's a huge.
And you have experience working for Fuse magazine, which is another Canadian art magazine.
In Black Flash, and I was proud to say that I didn't publish any reviews less than 1,500 words in my 7, 8, 9, I don't know how many years. But looking at Canadian art, 500-word reviews, in magazine 500-word reviews, those aren't reviews, those are, what can you say in 500 words? Some people can say a lot in 500 words, but they're very rare.
Very rare. You have to be writing about art for a long
May
time.
I
The
say
reviews
something?
were
1,000, 800, 2,000, when I was better for the record.
I don't think that length is a problem. I mean, it's partially a problem, but now that we have the internet, we can go as long as we want to. We have that liberty. I think it's
or as short
really
as we want to, like 1 minute episode.
exactly. So, I mean, I think it's really the real problem is the editorial timidity and the mandates that are stifling and actually enabling writers to be poor critics. Because I do think that, I mean, there are different forms, right? And there's a form of a 300-word review. There's a form of a 500-word review. There's a form of a 1,500-word essay review. And you work within those limitations, and you learn how to do it because you're a writer and you're interested in craft. And if you're a good writer, you can do it. You can even write a sort of a pithy, sort of 50-word cap on something. I really don't think that length is a problem.
But are art critics writers before they're critics? Like,
they go hand in hand.
okay.
If you
But what does
Yeah.
critical mean?
Yeah.
Like
you need to do some reading.
If only if you have money for a subscription.
I'm just interested in your opinions on what critical means. I'm not saying it in a negative way at all.
Well, I believe,
I think you're right that there are different forms, and that the blog form, and some of you write for that, do take there's a different format to that, and there's different sensitivities to that, and there's different dialogue in the fact that people can respond to blogs, and that there's a sort of an instant sometimes anonymously, and sometimes we know who they are. Right. And so I'm interested in maybe some of your thoughts on those forms and how the criticism changes. Like, I don't think it's fair to say that just the form changes, because the way the criticism is digested changes as well. And so I'm interested in your.
Well, I believe in sort of a critical. Thank you for responding. I believe in a critical mean. Like, I believe in a critical mean that sort of transcends various media. So I do think that there's like an approach, a critical approach that can be really versatile. But I also believe in the idea of constructive criticism, because I wouldn't be a critic if I didn't believe in constructive criticism. I don't feel like a destroyer. I don't feel like somebody who gets a kick out of poking people in the ribs. The reason why I would want to be critical is because I think I'm fundamentally a very passionate and hopeful person, and I believe in art, and I want it to be better. And I think probably everyone on this panel would agree with me on that, because the remuneration is not substantial. So we're doing this because we love it. And why would you love it? You know, other than to want to try to make things better, right? So to be encouraging. But the problem is that we don't have a big sort of critical culture the way we used to, and this goes back all the way to sort of primary school.